153, baby.
Nice.
Damn. Can't wait for whatever math fact you're going to throw at us for 153, John.
I don't have any.
Well, I'm done. See you guys later. I don't want to talk anymore.
Hate this place.
I'll have some math. I'll have some math about that. I just thought of something.
I mean, if you add 1 and 5 together, you get 6, and divide that by 3, you get 2, which is
that's where I was going.
Pleasant. Yeah.
The first 3 are
also
integers.
1 plus 5 plus 3 is 9, which you can divide by 3, and then it's also.
And you know what's the best sequence? 369.
Oh yeah, damn real fun.
I really like that sequence. Like 369.
Yeah,
great number.
Yeah,
for multiple reasons.
Yeah. All right, Blake, you guys start us off before we just meh.
What up, world? Welcome back to another
Phantismal,
anticipatory,
frustrating,
sexy,
overdue.
Insert adjective here.
Hot with 2 T's.
Enthralling.
There we go.
Episode
Nice.
of the Amer podcast.
Nice.
Calling it out before it even starts, setting it up.
It's an adjective, right? I was right about that. I'm pretty bad at grammar.
It's an adjective.
It's an adjective. Today's Monday, August 2nd, 2021 still. And we're back to discuss something of the utmost importance, which is the January 6th Commission. But before we get into that enthralling discussion, we have the original crew in the house tonight. Starting off with our West Coast correspondent and maybe perhaps AKA assistant guardrails extraordinaire, Tyler Grillo.
It's just because I'm just in the flow with the guard railing over here.
I appreciate that. No, you did an awesome job the last few times hosting too.
Why? Thank you. That means a lot coming from you, Balaki.
Yeah, you're making me nervous over here.
Stealing your jet, coming for your gerb.
Got to up my game a little
Hearing
bit.
some steps, baby.
Also with us out in the Denver metro area, our Colorado correspondents, Mr. John Anderson and John Kelly. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. I don't know who goes.
Doesn't matter. We're both here. We're ready. It's gonna be fun. Let's have some fire this evening, boys.
There you go.
I got fire in my belly.
Yeah, fire under his belly. I can see it from here. It's blazing hot.
With 2 T's.
With 2 T's.
So, yeah, let's get into it. Anderson, you seemed ready to comment.
There was a bipartisan effort to pass legislation in order to do it in both chambers of Congress. That was blocked because many members of the Republican Party don't want to be investigated for some unknown reason that we cannot discern.
You have no idea why.
No clue. So
looking at you, Jim Jordan.
Yeah. So Nancy Pelosi in the House has the power to create what is called a select committee. So there's not members of the Senate on it, which would have been better, but it is bipartisan. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are on it. They are Republicans. And so it is a bipartisan commission into understanding what was the culmination of a coup attempt. And I
gotta say, the Republicans, though, are trying to get rid of them from the GOP.
Yeah, they're trying to.
What happens when they're gone, right?
Well,
question.
I mean, and we went back to this when Biden was inaugurated or shortly afterwards. They've changed the definition of bipartisan, which is in I would say like smart, political people terms or the mainstream media, we would say, okay, well, what do members of Congress think? Where the Biden administration would say, we're passing policies with 70% approval. And so tell me that's, the members of Congress do not constitute bipartisanship. The American people constitute bipartisanship. And so I think that's what they would say. I don't also think that you can technically expel people from the party itself. They can expel them from, say, the Republican caucus, but that doesn't mean that they're not Republicans, it just means they don't get to like hang out in the clubhouse. So
right, exactly. They gotta hand back the jackets. And
Yeah.
They gotta not use the secret handshakes when they're on the floor. Stuff like
exactly.
that.
I do think that this kind of exposes something interesting, which is we are in a dramatic party realignment. And that party realignment is apparently fascists versus Democrats, which is going to be great for an electoral system. And so, we have Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger on the side of Democrats, and we have the rest of the Republican caucus either cowards or fascists. So,
right, yeah, maybe not Democrats with a capital D, right, but democracy, I would say, more than anything else. And
yeah,
with our more of our country's best interest and the future of our country's best interest in mind.
Right, and sorry, I meant small D Democratic. Yeah. That's fucking confusing. Yeah. So thank you for clarifying that for me, Kelly. So yeah, I don't, to answer your question, I don't think it matters what Kevin McCarthy thinks Liz Cheney is, because he's already made the determination. We're in a different kind of fight, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, in the 2016 election, if you go back and listen to old episodes, you'll probably hear me talk about how my greatest hope was that Donald Trump was going to lead to the collapse of the Republican Party. The Democrats would become a centrist party, and a true left-leaning party would actually, like a leftist party, would actually emerge. But unfortunately, it seems like the trend is going the other direction, in which the Republican Party is just moving further towards the right, and the Democrats are also just still the centrist party. So that didn't work as my greatest hope. In fact, my greatest fear, perhaps.
Right. Well, I mean, I think in some ways you're still seeing the disintegration of a party long term, right? The demographics are shifting underneath them. It's going to take a while. And, what'll end up happening is that they'll continue to cling to the power structures that they have associated with their party now. Right. And that'll get more and more entrenched as the demographics continue to shift underneath them. Given their party platforms, I don't see there's any way that they could be a legitimate party in this country in like 2040, given the demographics of this country, unless they change every voting law to exclude basically all women and minorities. But, who knows? They're already trying to do that. But back to the January 6th Commission, I will say that, I'm glad that it's going through. We obviously came out very quickly after the insurrection happened at the Capitol. We're pretty pissed off that it happened, and, kind of made our stances pretty clear at the beginning there that this, one, should be investigated for the soul of our country, but two, that there's really, specific reasons that you should throw light upon it. So you're casting light into areas of doubt for people who think it's not a big deal, and also potentially bringing some punishment for the people that are really responsible for it, namely Donald Trump, and then also hopefully some enablers that are in the GOP party itself. It's going to be a tough line, I think. And I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on this, about where exactly blame will be cast out from this investigation. Because it's very hard to, I think, cast blame on members who are like, oh, yeah, well, I talked to people a month before it happened or something. Right. But
like
I think you
Kelly,
can...
Kelly, do you mean like hard evidence? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, where you come down on punishment? Do you start kicking people out of Congress?
Oh,
you
man.
ban them from like
expulsion,
future
for
office.
Sure, I'd imagine. Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's the answer. Like, I want to see the fact. I will say, I think that we're going to find things out that we did not previously know that will be totally shocking.
I agree with you on that. I think that's probably true.
In terms of like, oh, there's like members of Congress are majorly implicated in this. There's like, there was all that shit with the Republican attorney generals association that like made robocalls on top of this. There's lots of funding apparatus built behind this that is interwoven with the traditional Republican Party. So I think we're going to find some really, really disturbing, shocking things about this. I have no idea. I don't want to say anything without knowing details about like what the consequences should be, other than
that's fair. Hypotheticals isn't a good game.
But other than there has to be consequences for this, or this will be a dress rehearsal and not a single incident. We have to. And people are going to argue like, oh man, you can't throw Jim Jordan out of Congress because it's going to cause more trouble. It will be you have to pull the Band-Aid off on this. We have to stop this. The best time to stop it was in 2015. Your fucking party, GOP, didn't do it. And so now the country's got to do it. And so there will have to be dramatic, serious consequences for this, or my great fear is that what we just went through was Star Wars: A New Hope, and we have Empire Strikes Back and Jedi still to come.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we talked about it on our Slack chain earlier this week that, you know, the majority of Republicans now think they're going to have to take the law into their own hands at some point. Yeah, and you know what stokes that is this exact conversation that's happening around the Capitol insurrection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That those people are truly patriots. They thought there was something wrong, so they went there to fix it.
Yep.
Right? And it's not an insurrection. It is an insurrection. It is, no matter how you spin it. Right? So
I got a question to propose to you fellers.
42.
What?
Interesting.
If it was math related, yes. Yeah.
Isn't everything math related?
Yeah. Well, let's hear this first, maybe. Yeah. At what point do you think, when this is all investigated, Anderson, you mentioned in your previous comment that there were, for example, people like the attorney generals who did these robocalls. There's been other robocalls and organizing or collecting funds from donors and just like weird things that have gone on under the Republican umbrella, right? At what point do you think like the investigation, or will it ever reach the point where it's considered like a greater crime ring, you know, where there's like maybe a few bad actors to connect all these dots to? Do you think that's possible? Kind of sends the whole Republican Party burning?
Well, there's a lady who I'm gonna have to find. She's a really interesting follow on Twitter, and her whole thing is Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are all part of an international crime ring that are trying to commandeer nation states. And if you look at the history of, you know, Putin and the oligarchs of Russia, I think you can characterize it that way. And then you have all of this, you know, you have tons of Russian money flooding London. You have tons of Russian money in New York. And so I think it's an interesting
to see what with Haiti,
right.
You know.
So I think that's an interesting way to kind of construct where we are in kind of an way to like put a structure on our international order in ways. But that becomes external to like a judicial system, right? Like there's no way to go in and just arrest Vladimir Putin. You know, that's not going to happen. So, you know, like, what is the difference between like a conqueror and a pirate? Probably scale.
Right. Yeah.
And so, you know, I think you have the difference between like a head of state and a criminal, right? That's also probably scale.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can argue lots of heads of state have been.
So then you suggest that the way to deal with it would be to just deal with each of these criminal acts individually.
No, I mean, that's not my suggestion. It's a much more gigantic problem. Like you can knock down some of the tougher ones, but I mean, really, if you really want to get at it, it's probably like you have to have a rebalancing from capital to labor. I think would be the best way to deal with this.
I mean, yeah, John's putting on his red hat now.
Oh, did you like how I phrased that? A rebalancing of labor and capital.
You pinko commie over there.
Yeah, exactly. But like, you have too much power and capital, and you have to rebalance it somehow in order to like perform a check on oligarchs.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, well, and that's what also what you see like with like big tech companies, right? Like you have, you know, fucking billionaires going to space and shit, which before was just reserved for governments, right? Where nations were doing that. So you have things, and then this thing with Haiti, where it's like, was it a coup attempt by like a private organization? We still don't really know. And it's not like organizations. I mean, that is how mass colonization started to begin with, was large corporations being like, I think we could extract some resources of this place. Seems like there's other people there. Maybe we should take it over and then make the laws, and then we can just do what the fuck we want. So it's not like this is anything new necessarily, but the scale at which it is like nation states in that time still were kind of, up until the last, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 years, were more or less still in the main control of that. But now you have companies, multinational corporations that are emerging through certain organizations like the IMF and the World Bank, who have power that are one could say are comparable to the power that certain nation states have, and more for sure.
Real quick, the person I was referencing, her name is Sarah Kinzinger. She has a podcast called Gaslit Nation, and she also recently wrote a book.
I've heard of her.
Yeah. So, and she was really prescient in 15 and 16, and really all through the Trump administration. But she was early on it, and I think she has a PhD in this kind of stuff. And so sometimes I'm a little bit like, ooh, I don't know about that, but she's definitely somebody who is an interesting perspective to follow on this type of stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to check it out, because that's the first thing that popped into my head was like, okay, how do we, like, if this seems like it's a greater criminal issue. So
yeah, I mean, there's multiple levels to what's happening, and obviously with Trump and himself and the business dealings, there's a lot going on there. What John's really talking about and Tyler's talking about are like kind of international restructurings of the way that we're going to deal with international criminals and large, powerful corporations that can shift governmental power. I mean, I think what you were getting at, Blake, was probably a little bit more on the ground in terms of how much we might see connections and true evidence between maybe 4 or 5, 10, 20 key players, right? That might all be on the same email chain and decided that January 6th needed to happen.
We're doing the crimes.
Right.
We're doing the crimes.
I'm seeing this like link all together, and that's why these people in Congress are like, no, let's not do that.
Yeah, Kelly,
well,
I agree with you. It'll be more organic. Like, I don't think they're going to have an email chain of like,
it was a 4-year foment.
Yeah.
Donald Trump he said he wasn't going to accept the elections the first time around.
Exactly.
So everybody knew he was going to do this the second time around in the re-election. And everybody, he had fucking dog whistles for 2 years to shout out to people who were ready to fight for him, the Trump army, the Proud Boys. And so it was just a long simmering thing.
And he put it on Twitter too. He was like,
and it was normalized by the Republican Party. So where do you draw the line on where is communicative speech and where is posturing to your base then no longer acceptable and then really part of a federal insurrection against the federal government?
And this was something that kind of broke our society throughout the Trump administration, which was he just confessed to crimes on camera. And we have no way of dealing with that as a society because we're used to, there was a smoke-filled room and a bunch of backroom dealings, and that's how we know it's sinister. And so, that's what gets Nixon in trouble. It's the Nixon tapes, right? And with Trump, he was
the only difference is he's no longer president. He can no longer claim immunity like he did when he was president of the United States.
Yes, but I think he can avoid. That was one way I think he helped avoid impeachment twice.
Oh, 100%. Right? Yeah,
he literally was like, hey, Russia, go find the emails. And so if he had written an email to Vladimir Putin, he might have been impeached, but instead he said it on national television. Everybody was like, oh, I guess that's fine. And it's like, no, that's not fine. That's being a traitor to your country, turns out, which is, criminal. So I think that's one thing where I'm not like optimistic that there's a judicial remedy for this, and I haven't been basically since 2017. There is a political remedy to this, and I think that's about it. And it's going to be a decades long fight, and the thing that's going to get us out of it probably is demographic shifts.
Yeah. Well, you earlier, you jokingly earlier said that the answer was 42 as a reference to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy 6/7s. However, 2042 is the estimated year when white people are not going to be the majority of the anymore in the United States, and that is definitely a big turning point. It's also something that people are entertaining. Or people on the right are definitely like looking at as like an anxiety thing, which obviously is all racist, but like it's that thing of like, we're not going to be the majority anymore, blah, blah. And so I do think that things just on that alone and that talking point, as that gets pushed, has the possibility both to escalate things, but then, John, as you're saying, once that shift actually happens, there might be opportunity for change.
I think that's basically the root of everything we've been dealing with over the last 500 years, if you really want to go for it.
You know what's funny is if those white men were really, really scared about losing power or whatever, you'd think that they'd want to make all the rules, like, they'd be as progressive as they possibly could, so that when they got to that point, when they become the minority, they know that they're going to be okay. Like, this is going to be all right.
Nah, Blake, that's not how that works, man.
Yeah,
that is not how that works.
No.
This is lizard brain shit, man.
Yeah, you want to combine your power as much as humanly possible against everybody else.
Well, and I think that the base of this is not higher level processing. I think it's lizard brain shit. Yeah. I really think it's like, my tribe is not that tribe and therefore bad. Like,
turns out the lizard people, they're actually just talking about themselves and their lizard brains.
There it is. Turns out the lizard person was the person inside you all along.
Godspeed.
Oh man, for a second I thought we were talking about the underground lizard people that eat people. The aliens. No, we're not. Damn. You guys lost me. No, but seriously, it is a good point, and the lizard brain is there, and you see it in the voting shifts, right? This last election, after the two elections with Obama, it was the lowest outpour of white male voting for the Democratic Party that had been in like 30 or 40 years. You know, and what is that? It's a direct response to Barack Obama being president and a perceived threat. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it may not be as bad as we're projecting, that over the next 20 years it becomes a racial fight between two parties, but it does seem like they're on that track now until they can cut that cancer known as Donald Trump and those other people out of their party.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
I hope so. But like I said earlier, my like conception of this, which I guess is not that surprising knowing me, is we just went through A New Hope and we have Empire and Jedi still to go.
Where's my lightsaber?
That's true. We need one of those.
John, how fast does the Millennium Falcon go in Star Wars?
Godspeed.
Actually, it goes at light speed, but that's fine. Actually, that's not right. All the nerds are going to get upset. All the nerds, it's like what is it? Hold on.
It's light speed, which is what the speed. No, wait, no, it is. No, it's hyperspace.
Yeah, exactly.
They travel through hyperspace.
I think it's Star Wars. They go through hyperspace. Yeah.
In Star Trek, it's warp for sure.
Yeah, in Star
at
Trek,
1,050 kilometers per hour. Apparently,
what is that?
Which is a megalight 75 megalight per hours.
Oh my god! They have a unit of measurement called a megalight.
Apparently.
Is that 1,000 light years?
Probably.
Yeah. Right? Maybe.
Which is not possible by physics, but we're past that.
Science fiction, it does not conform to real physics most of the time.
Not all science fiction. Yeah.
At least the ones with really hard space travel.
Totally.
Does life conform to science fiction?
It might imitate it. It might strive for it. It would be interesting to know what our life would be like if like Star Wars hadn't happened. Run that natural experiment.
Wow. On that note, stopping the recording.
Yeah. That'll all be blooper. That's all blooper.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're like heavy into the outro here.